Thanks for joining us for another DK Custom Products video. My name's Kevin, this is Dwayne, and today we're going to talk about a question that we get a lot, actually a couple questions we get a lot about external breather systems. So there are two things that come up a lot when people are looking at getting an external breather system, or if they already have an external breather system. And one of them is the catch can filling up quickly, if they have a catch can EBS, and the other is the catch can EBS spitting little water droplets, oily water droplets out the top of the catch can.
That's right.
So those are two sort of separate different things.
Correct.
So let's address the condensation one first, because that's the more common one.
Right. Well, let's do this first. So if you're not aware of what an external breather system is, like if you're watching this video and you haven't watched, our hundreds of other videos talking about the importance and the benefits of an external breather system, we did a video a couple of years back and we titled it, "Why is there oil along the side of my bike?" And it's pretty much explaining why oil carryover has overwhelmed your air cleaner. But this video is going to be, well, what happens if oil carryover has overwhelmed my external breather system? And so the most popular external breather add-on is the catch can. Now you can just run an open-ended hose to the ground. You can run it to a small pod filter to help baffle that liquid carryover. But most people, myself included and Kevin, prefer the billet aluminum catch can. Now, catch cans come in various sizes. Obviously, you can get them for your car, truck, your automotive application, and they'll be damn near 2 liters. They'll be huge. But you don't need that on a Harley. You want it, the aesthetics matter on these bikes. You don't want some huge just tank on the side of your bike. So what people do is they'll use that small catch can. And that catch can is designed to contain oil carryover. And there's a whole slew of reasons why you may have oil carryover. But if your catch can is filling with oil before, a few thousand miles, you have an oil carryover issue that needs to be addressed. It's not the catch can causing the issue. The catch can is just showing you the issue. And so like I said, there's a few reasons. Most likely reason is you just have too much engine oil and it has to go somewhere, so it pushes out. If you've had your bike serviced at a dealership, it's probably the issue. More often than not, if a bike's had an oil change at a dealership, they just dumped 4 or 5 quarts in there without bringing it up to the proper level and sent it on its way.
The people think that the quote-unquote full mark, or the top mark on their dipstick, is where their oil level should be, when it clearly states in the manual that you do not add any oil to your engine unless the oil level is at the bottom mark or below. So if the oil is not at the bottom mark, or what people refer to as the low mark, if it's above that, the manual says don't add any oil.
Their best interest is to get that bike in and out. We have a whole video
on that we'll put up in the corner.
Yeah, unfortunately that happens a lot of times at a dealership. Or a lot of times, if you don't, a lot of people don't realize there's residual oil left behind when you do an oil change. And then if you look in your manual and it tells you 5 quarts, that doesn't mean dump 5 quarts in there with an oil change. Dump 4.5 and then bring up to the level.
Well, it says right in the manual, and you can put it up on the screen here, dry fill.
Yeah, right.
Versus a wet fill. And when you've drained the oil, you still have probably a 1/2 quart or more oil in there. So if the total capacity of your bike is 5 quarts and you drain out 4.5 quarts, don't put 5 quarts back in.
No, it's gonna find its way out.
Yeah,
I can promise you that.
Yeah.
So then there's the other issue will be, well, my catch can's overfilling, but when I open it, it's empty. And they think, a lot of people are under the misconception that's oil carryover that's escaping the catch can.
And this happens mostly, you said, in the
spring and fall.
It
happens in the wintertime, but not as many people ride in the wintertime. But when it's springtime and it's cool overnight, that invites condensation. Doesn't matter, your windows, your car, truck, condensation is going to build up. Well, when you park your bike and it's hot, condensation will build up. If you fire your bike up and it never reaches operating temperature, an excessive amount of condensation will build up in there. And then the very next time you crank that bike, it's going to push it out. It's going to go into the external breather system. The catch can is designed to contain liquid oil carryover. That's porous foam inserts and a baffling system.
It stops the oil.
Stop the oil and let the vapor and gas escape.
But it's not so good at stopping water.
It's not going to stop water in the same way. Water is going to find its way out much easier. So there's a couple ways, if you can't get rid of the condensation because of where you have to store your bike or whatever, there's a couple things you can do to reduce it. I like to tell people to cut out a small piece of a shop towel and just line the floor of the catch can with it. So then as condensation presents itself, it just soaks up and then dries out. Soaks up and then dries out. So, and if you're still overwhelming it, consider rerouting your external breather system. A lot of people don't realize you can route that hose up. So if you have, especially on the M8 baggers, you have a lot of room there to connect the hoses above the intake. Route that single hose under the frame, along the frame backbone, and let that catch can hang behind your rear engine cylinder. There's a void of space there. You might as well take advantage of it. And that way the catch can hides in plain sight. You don't have hoses running along the side of your bike, and gravity is helping you out. Because then that water has to fight gravity to get out. And if it can't get out, it's going to drain right back to the engine and be turned to vapor when your engine is fully heat soaked. Right. So that's probably the best way.
It's not going to go in and mix with the engine oil.
Oh, no.
It's going to go into the cavity that's in the head. And as it comes out of the engine, it goes like into a waiting space.
Right.
Okay, and it can't go back the other way.
Correct.
So that it's going to sit there until the engine gets hot enough to evaporate it out.
Right.
And go out as a vapor rather than little droplets.
That's right. It's that simple. And a lot of times, if you're due for an oil change, that condensation can separate from your oil. Or if you're running an inferior oil type, like if you just went to Walmart and you picked up some Valvoline V-twin engine oil, it's notorious for foaming and separating. So whenever it foams up, that water sets on top of the oil. It's separated from oil. Fire the bike up the next time, pushes it out. So try to run different oil types if you're having an issue with condensation, but just be aware, it's not the external breather system that's the issue. It's the bike. The bike's presenting that condensation, just letting it build up and then pushing it out. We had a guy, here's a comment we had right here. Your catch can is only a few ounces. I have to empty it every other ride. That's the bike.
Yeah. And if that's oil that is emptying out.
Right.
Not water.
Right. And the silver lining is at least it's not feeding into the intake. A lot of people think that they can.
Like you said at the beginning, it's not the EBSs that it's not working properly,
right.
But the EBS is helping you see that there is something else wrong with the bike. And the number one thing to do, if you're getting 4 ounces of oil every other ride,
yeah,
you should probably do a leak down test because
right.
you probably have a more serious engine
You have
problem.
a leak down issue with your rings letting blow by be present, or a lot of things with these M8s, the oil pump not scavenging oil out of the crankcase, and a lot of times a symptom of something is excessive oil carryover.
Right.
So that's something else to look into.
So look at the M8 sump plug, the shorty sump plug. And we'll put a video on that up in the corner too.
Right. Now, if you have any questions about fitting an external breather system to your air cleaner or your model Harley Davidson, give us a call. We have an entire customer service team ready to take your call and help you out. All of our air cleaners vent externally, so there's no mods needed with ours. If you have any questions at all, do not hesitate to shoot us an email to support@dkcustomproducts.com, or again, give us a call, 662-252-8828.
Y'all ride safe out there.